We are humans.
Yeah.
We have our emotions as the sinusoidal wave. It's not digital, it's an analog that we are looking at. And
Yes.
we are, we are tend to have moments where we might feel low. Just, something happened, somebody said something to us, and we are feeling low.
Mm.
That's one aspect. And the second aspect being where you are feeling low because your energy is low. Your chakras are, vibrating at a lower frequency. How do
Yeah.
you differentiate the two? And, if it's the later one, how do you start working on it?
Okay, so what I would say there is the number one thing we need to have is awareness. If we're not aware, because sometimes, when we're feeling, and let's face it, we live in this 3D world, we're humans, we have duality, we have yin yang, we have
Yeah.
dark light. So if we are all happy all the time, we'd never know what it wouldn't be feeling happy because we wouldn't know any difference. We wouldn't know what it would felt like to be a little bit unhappy or having a bit of a shitty day or whatever. So we
Mhm.
need that duality sort of like to take us through
Mhm.
and to give us that understanding of what is this and what is that. I think the number one thing that is so key that we often don't look at is the awareness. What is the awareness that you have about, well, why do you feel shame? There may be a reason that, oh my God, I've done something that I didn't really feel good about,
Mhm.
or someone else did, or whatever it is. And we go into that vortex of like, oh my God, I'm the worst person, da 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 da. And this is when this vibration goes down. If we're still equally saying that I'm woken up one day with, and I just feel shitty. Or it's like there's a black cloud out there, and I'm like, oh, I just have that vibration. It's still the same thing. Have the awareness and the acceptance of where we are. But what I would say is what we are very much taught to do, and I don't know if this is just British culture, is not to show emotion, even from children. You just don't show emotion. It's like to pick yourself up and get on with it,
Yeah.
which to me is just, it's like you grow up thinking, well, it's bad if you show emotion or if you go into this state. Well, actually, sit in the emotion. And I say to, a lot of my clients who are like having a really bad day, okay, I understand that. We all have days like that. Sit in the feeling that feels really uncomfortable because our tendency, our natural default is to try and run away from it.
Yeah.
But believe me, whatever we run away from comes back in another pair of shoes somewhere else around the corner. I would just say, have awareness. Is this triggered from something specific? If
Mhm.
that is the case, release it. I do a lot of tapping, the EFT. I would release it and just get rid of it straight away. But you have to understand the core reason of why you've got it. What is the lesson you've learned?
Okay.
Because if you don't learn the lesson, it will come round in another pair of shoes and
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm back. Let me
Yeah.
tell you this now. You still haven't learned. But also, what then can you do to say, okay, I accept myself there and then? We're not perfect. This is the shadow sides of ourselves that we don't really like to understand or have a look at. And it's like, okay, that is a part of who I am. I accept that. Let me move on. And the one thing we do know, Pulkit, is that nothing ever stays the same for long.
That's
One of my big mottos was tomorrow's another day. You get up and you start again. But don't just push it under the carpet. Whatever emotion you're feeling, feel it. Release it in whichever way you want to release it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And step into joy or happiness or do something that you are physically raising that vibration to come into a different place.
Nice, nice. So if I have to put it in this manner, and correct me if I'm wrong while I say this, the very first step for anybody to start their journey on the path of energy healing is to learn acceptance, to accept the emotions that they're going through, right?
I would say that, but first of all, I would say have the awareness of what's going on because there's always a story underneath.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
let's face it, sometimes we wake up and we know that, we've had an eclipse and we've
Yeah.
had a planetary change, a new moon, a full moon. These all affect our energy as
Yes,
well.
totally.
So, we are watery beings, so things shift and change, just like the tide and the ocean. But
Yes.
the ocean doesn't have a storm all the time. It'll have the storm and it'll come into calm, and then it'll have another storm and it'll go into calm.
Yeah.
So we have to have that awareness of what's the trigger. What maybe has triggered is something that's triggering me, or is it that I'm just like, having one of those days that just doesn't feel great.
Mhm.
So awareness first and then acceptance, but change it. Have an understanding. It's like being a little bit of an explorer I always think of it as like being an energy explorer. What
Mhm.
is the underlying cause? What do I need to do about it? What action steps can I take to move away?
Amazing, amazing. So the first step is awareness, and the second thing is acceptance.
Yeah. And then create a different plan. Do something, take action, whether it's tapping, meditation, go for a walk in nature, go and put some music on and dance, shift your vibration, take some action, and then create a new reality. What is it you want to feel?
So I guess it's three A's: awareness,
Yeah.
acceptance, and action that we need to
Yeah.
look at.
Yeah, you could do, yes, exactly. Do the three A's.
Mhm.
It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And just a very basic question, going back to the roots, for the sake of our listeners, if you can help us understand what are chakras, just a little quick understanding around what are chakras and how are they made, or like if I put it correctly in that manner.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I see them as they're just vortices of energy. And remember, we sort of hear that
Hmm.
we have seven main chakras, which we do, but actually we've got over 100. We've got so many more. We've got them in the palms of our hands, behind our knees, under our feet. There are chakras everywhere. But what I like to explain them as is they're vortices of energy that tell us a story. So the chakra system is just telling a story of what is going on in these specific areas of your body, because they all relate to different organs, hormones, physical things, and emotions.
Hmm.
So, depending on where you are feeling out of balance, so say, for example, if you've got pain in your legs or your feet or your hips,
Hmm.
that would be, my first thought would be like, okay, so what's going on the root chakra? The root chakra is all about how safe we feel. Do we feel we belong? Are we feeling secure with our finances, our relationships, within our health? It's the basic need, the fundamental. It's like, Maslow's hierarchy, our
Okay.
foundation. And I'd be saying, well, okay, so what's going on? And of course, we're going through extraordinary changes right now, universally. There's a lot of change, and that rocks people's foundation. So I see them as a story. And when I do the chakra readings, that is exactly what we get. We get a story of what really is the underlying cause of why you're feeling a little bit out of balance, and how then we can put that energy center back into balance. And generally, what I would say is there's probably one area that would be I don't like using the word weaker, but the one that is more out of balance more often, because that's where it would hit you. So, for example, on a physical level, some people, when they're stressed out, will
Hmm.
get gut issues. Some people will get throat issues or headaches or, upper digestive issues.
Yep.
And that will be your weak point. If I get stressed, it comes out in my skin. We're all different.
Yep.
So it really depends on where we are with those stress levels. What is the point in your body that actually is the first alarm bell to say, actually, there's something not right here?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
you can go deeper into the story. Does that explain it a bit more? It's a bit like a symphony. So I always think of it as, also, if you think of an orchestra, which is what the chakras are not all working and spinning necessarily at the same time, if we're feeling a bit stressed. So when you're hearing a symphony, a beautiful orchestra playing a piece of music, every instrument is playing its own bit when
Hmm.
it's needed to give you that beautiful sound. If you've got a violin that suddenly goes out of tune, the whole orchestra sounds
Hmm.
dreadful. That symphony is just, oh, you can't listen. So it's the same as our energy system. We're working with this symphony of energy, if you like, and it's like in a flow. So throat chakra's working more now than root chakra's working, because I'm not walking around, but I'm speaking. So that's how I see it. And this is where it can be so useful for us to understand what is going on within us, as well as what we're projecting out into the world.
Totally, totally, totally.
Yeah.
So, as they say that, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
So, what you're putting in the universe is gonna boomerang back to you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. We're mirrors. We're a reflection of ourselves. We're
Yeah.
a reflection of other people. We're a reflection of our atmosphere, an environment. So yeah, we are just a mirror, really.
And just for, a better understanding. So, let's say my body's response to the stress or anxiety is me feeling gut issues or lower back aches. So, would that mean I need to work on the chakra that's, specifically commanding the overall health of that particular
Yeah.
organ?
I would start there, but I would always start with a root.
Okay.
Because everything, remember, everything comes from our foundations. Because, say, for example, and I know a lot of people do this, and, you know, they'll work with the heart chakra,
Yep.
which obviously we all want more compassion. We want to feel
Mhm.
more love. We want to give more love. We want to give ourselves more love. But
Mhm.
actually, if you are focusing just on that, and yet underneath you're feeling really unsafe or unsupported, you're not going to be able to have a step into that place of love. It might be all right for a few minutes or a few hours or maybe a few days, but you're going to default back because your underlying core issue here is that you don't feel safe and supported.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
start with a foundation. You know, it's like whenever you climb a ladder, you've got to start on that first rung. You don't go halfway up.
Yep.
So start with the underlying foundation. What is the key issue, the core issue that's going on here? Then what
Mhm.
is it that's creating these digestive issues?